told me what's going to happen. Nobody really said. You sit in the dark for 2 hours. So when I went there, another German gentleman, I'm German by birth, we checked the room, and the gentleman was very thorough. He checked the room for probably 40 minutes, and he went everywhere. He was looking for trapdoors. He was looking, I don't know, he turned the lights upside down, the chairs. It was just amazing. So I was wondering then, what was that all about? Why would he do this? So then, when the light went out, I was sitting against the only exit, which was the door. So my chair was against the door. Suddenly I felt someone in front of me, and he seemed to be really tall. And then he said in German, "Good evening." And I was just like, "Oh, good evening." And he said, "Do you believe I'm real?" I go, "I don't know what I believe. We're all holding hands. Where's this man coming from?" And so he introduced himself as William. He stomped his feet, so the whole floor was shaking. So I quickly agreed that I believe he is true. And through the whole night, there were people talking to us, different people at the same time, talking about the spirit world, giving information to people. There was an old gentleman, and later found out his name is Quentin Crisp. He was very crude, very funny, beautiful. So he also sat on my hand, where I felt like plasticine. It felt like plasticine, like you would have a skeleton and you put plasticine over it. It was a bit, I work in childcare, so I know what plasticine feels like. So after that, I was totally gobsmacked. Like, I did not know what I experienced. I did not know it was dreaming. I came home, I was awake for hours and going through, I want to know what this is. I want to experience this again. So basically that seance started me on my trips through physical mediumship. Over the years, I have sat with many, many mediums, and I really think maybe I can tell you about some of my experiences, why I am now feeling that we need to learn from these experiences, not just mine, learn from everyone's experiences and question, what are we experiencing? What is actually happened? How is it done? Who are these people who are creating all this? What do they want to achieve with it? What do they want us to learn? Why do they need us? Or maybe we need them. What are the relationships? Are there other beings like ET, for instance? Or are there other ways this phenomena can be created? Maybe kinetic energy, maybe by mind. What is happening? So when I had sat with David, I went to Germany the following year in 2010, in May 2010. I went to Germany, and I had found a circle in France who were doing a week of physical mediumship. So I went to France and met two mediums. One was a physical medium, and there I met some amazing communicators, amazing phenomena within the seance room, floating, huge tables floating past me, Michael Jackson singing next to my ear. And I was thinking, I'm going a little bit mad now. But then the lady next to me said, I can hear Michael Jackson very close. And I said, well, you know what? He's holding my hand, and it's really soft and it's really small. And I just can't believe it. But with this experience, again, I was just going, how does this happen? How can this happen? What needs to be happening so that we can experience this? And then another time I was with these mediums, we had celebration with Native American Indians. Now you need to imagine a room which is huge, like maybe 5 by 8 meters, maybe 10, 5 by 8, maybe. Oh, he can't. Can't hear me. So, and there were 4 people in the room. Yes. So the 2 mediums were held by us 2. So as soon as the light turned out, and the room is very big, it has no extra doors, it was empty. The chair next to me with the medium was lifting up, and I'm going concerned. I had to hold his hand. What am I going to do? So the music was loud, so the medium turned up. I went with my hand under the chair because I was thinking, you know, something needs to lift this chair up. There was nothing. And then we had people behind us. We had people in front of us. The drums were playing. It was like they were smoking a pipe. We had left some tobacco in the back of the corner, but no matches. They were smoking a pipe. They were stamping their feet around us. The chairs, they tipped our chairs backwards. It was amazing. And so, you know, that was another. Then I walked through the room to the back of the room. I was asked to go to the back of the room, and it was like cobwebs were just passing me. And I heard people talk and singing. It was just like unreal. And so then again, I was thinking, what is happening here? What is that cobweb stuff? Well, you know, where do these people come from? And so then after that, I went to a German lady. He brings through a communicator who said he lived a long time ago. He's a very famous person, so let's just leave that out. So he was talking to me. He asked me, what do you want to be? And I go, I want to be a medium. I want to go be asleep, and I want people to experience all this great stuff when I'm asleep. And he goes, why would you think that it is so good to be so deep asleep? And at the time I thought that is the only way a medium can work, that they are unconscious really. And he was saying to me, no, actually there are many other ways, and you will learn about this. There are many other ways a medium can be aware. I didn't know about trance, I didn't know about anything else. And so he was saying that, like say, even during trance, when a medium is in an observing state, yes, and the communicator will bring up a subject which is very close to their heart. Their emotional body will react. And at times, the communicator has to bring forward that what the medium brings forward with their mind, because they're reacting to a subject. Like say in my case, it would be like say child abuse. I would come forward and they would have to work with that. While I am an observer, I become aware of it and can step back. So I learned about that, and I used that later. I found with some mediums I could understand what he was talking about. At the time I didn't. And then I met a young lady who was a developing medium. What was the very interesting thing with her was that her circle leader was super strict. And I was sitting with her, the circle leader, me, and the medium. And it was I think maybe 2012. And the light went on. A light in the back of the room came on. And the medium was in the room picking up something from the floor. And the light went back off. And the communicator said to me, I hope you have questions. And I'm going, hell yeah, I have questions. What happened? What happened there? So then he went into explaining to me to save energy, we use at times the medium's form. we want with this medium, we want to build voice box, takes a lot of energy, but also other phenomena we want to work with. And I went, oh, okay. He goes, you know, when you hear footsteps, it's not necessarily that a person is walking. We also can work with the tension on the floor. And he goes, there's a lot to learn. I went, yeah, obviously there's a lot to learn. So then they were producing ectoplasm to create a voice box. And the noise was horrible. I have never really heard it with other mediums as much. It was this sound. It was just like different people tried the voice box. And they were saying they were stretching the voice box because this medium would have independent voice. So that was up in the top of Queensland, of the UK. So at the end of the week, I went down to Brighton, the bottom of the UK, with another young medium. And exactly the same communicators came through, the same noises, and the same fetching the voice box. And I was going, I heard you before, you know, I heard this only last week, like 300 kilometers from here. And they're going, yes, we're working with these two mediums together. The same group works with these mediums. And also, if you have mediums who sit with another medium, at times, that other group will teach each other what I learned with their mediums, so that what one group has learned, they will use with another medium. And on the same, it is like when we all think we sit in circle and we're building energy and it's all great, at times we're not sitting for our circle that time. If they have a need for energy in another circle where they're at a development where they need extra energy, they will actually use the energy we are creating for another circle. Well, you know, with some mediums, it doesn't go so well in one sitters. They don't really want to sit for other circles, but that's what it is. So after that, then I sat with, then the ET came into my life with a medium from Queensland, and I had some very interesting experiences with some of them. I am not clairvoyant at all. So I was able to see the medium in the chair and see the ET like he was sitting on his lap. I found that really amazing. Also, then later on, and I had never thought of ET before. It was just nothing, whatever had come to my mind. And then later, maybe a year later, or not even that long, I was sitting in my pyramid with a medium, and I was seeing transfiguration. It was just me, red light, just watching transfiguration. The transfiguration went really fast, and I was going, you know, guys, I'm getting a headache. I can see the faces, but while I see the faces, they're already gone. So if you can't slow this down, I'm done. So they slowed it down, and I saw amazing faces, like a lot of Aborigines, you know, periodical women, children, men, old men, young men, all this. And suddenly, and you need to imagine I'm in that pyramid by myself on a property where there's no one else. From the chest up is an ET. My heart raced like mad. I was actually frightened. Not that he moved, just there. So it disappeared. The people were coming back. I was watching that for a little while. The ET returned. This time I wasn't as shocked, but I still was much too frightened. It disappeared. And then another 5 minutes later, it turned up again, and I could see it really clear. And I was a little bit to the side. So it turned his head, just looked at me, and disappeared. And it was like, I was a bit in a shock for a few days, but that's okay. And after that, I met Anorians, which is also an ET race. And the medium I sat with was a friend of mine. and it was just her and me. And I'm sitting in my seance room, and the speaker comes forward and says, I want to tell you, I want to show you something. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, what do they want to show me? And from next to my chair, both sides, the walls, all the room, then the cabinet, then my friend, all disappeared. And it all became, I don't know the word, I don't know. Anyway, energy, like little bubbles, like champagne bubbles maybe, and the whole room. Now, both times, I had nothing to drink. I had no drugs. I wasn't tired. I had no preconceived ideas. I didn't know it was coming. It was just an experience. And so then I wanted to know more about ET groups for a little while. It was more concentrated on ET. So then I met a group called the Anunnaki. I was sitting in the seance room with the medium who has ET, and the energy changed in the room, and my chair was away, maybe 10 meters, 1 meter from the back wall. The energy came towards us. There was the medium's wife, and pushed our chairs against the wall. So, well, yes, we knew the power they had. So then we heard two guys talking to each other in a language I don't understand. Powerful, very powerful language in itself. And I kept repeating, please, I want to hear what you have to say. I can't understand you. I want to hear what you have to say. And eventually they said, one of them, I couldn't see them, by the way, it was just energy in the room. And they said, this was a test and you did well. We are the Anunnaki, energy swap, medium back, that's it, an experience. So after the, then I went and met a medium who doesn't work very much. I went to his home circle, and I experienced what Ken was talking about before. The communicator said to me, would you like, first he said, would you like to dance? I go, oh yeah, no worries. So he pulled me out of my chair and we were dancing. Then he put me back on my chair and I said, this is great. And the two people next to me were touching me on my shoulders, like that's how tight we were. And they said, what was great? I said, I just got up and danced. And they go, no, you didn't. You didn't leave your chair the whole time. I don't know what you're talking about. I go, but I experienced it. And the next thing they then said, would you like to see us? I went, yep. So I got up. They had a plaque in the darkened room, and on the plaque built a head, a gentleman's head, maybe 50. And I could feel the crisp breath. I could see the sparkling eyes. I could see it. It was like this much away from me. And then he goes, you can touch my face. And while he was laughing, all the wrinkles, I could just feel them. It was just amazing. And then he goes, you know, I always had nice hair. So I had to feel his hair, and he had a big head of hair. Now the medium has no hair and is a lot older. So I asked him about, I said, what was all this about? It was amazing. What was this about? Well, it is about different energies used. There's different energies we use for physical mediumship. There is perception, how we use people's perception. There's a lot to learn in mediumship. And I go, oh, here again, there's so a lot to learn. Then I sat with a medium where I heard a lot of different voices in the room. While they were talking to me, a child's voice took my socks off and put them on the light. Then I experienced full materialization with a medium, which was amazing, mind-blowing. You know, hands form building. There's apports, lots of apports. Now I am in the process of watching over time how they build a materialization, what it takes to build a materialization, what they need. So with all this have come a lot of questions for me. How does it happen? What are we doing? And now it is like I'm looking on social media, and there's hardly anyone who speaks up and say, my God, that is so amazing. We can hug our loved ones. We can talk to them. I had people in the seance from friends of mine that their husbands talk to them, even in different languages. I mean, how amazing is that? And all I see on social media is dragging the mediums down, dragging the mediums down. He is a fraud. He is a fraud. He is not a trans medium. He doesn't give the right readings. Blah, blah, blah. What is it? We need to learn about it. We need to work with them. We need to research it.
Just break in there, if I may, just to let you know that you've been talking for 23 minutes, so to give you a little bit of a break. No, that's fine, just to give you a little bit of a break. So what did you have in your head as an idea of what you wanted to do following all these different types of experiences that you've had? And you've certainly had a hell of a lot of them. What are you trying to do at Wallacea Development Centre?
Well, at the moment, we're working with Gary Mannion and on scientific testing. We use, infrared, we use normal cameras, we use sensors. Professor Kruse builds his own sensors. He actually works with the team. They don't work with Gary, they don't work with me, we get told nothing. It is between the spirit team and it is between the scientist and the spirit team. They work out what they want to show, they work out what they need and how they develop it, and then how they want to test it. And in no way is it always going to work the first time. Sometimes it needs to be tested 3-4 times until it gets the results they want to show. But it is a work in progress, and it is not about showing a medium is real or not, or medium is better than the other, or a medium has better communicators, or they have more to say, or whatever. It's just about how does it all work? What sitters do they need? They need more educated sitters, because if you go to a seance and you have sitters who are very critical, who have read all the crap what's on social media about physical mediumship, in Gary's case, the team will say, yeah, come back another day, we're not doing this. While it is hard for them to create what they want to create, to experiment with what they want to experiment with, because there is already, I want to see this, I want to see the trumpet, I want to see my mother, or my dad maybe as well, while we at it, I want to see this and that and the other. It's not working that way. And in the olden days, everybody goes, oh, the olden days, it was just so beautiful. Yes, I'm sure it was. But it is so different now. We have now so many different ideas about everything. In the olden days, you would go, you sit with a medium, or maybe it was even the family and friends. You sit in the lounge room. You weren't worried that the medium is tied, really, really, really tight, that it can't get blood to his hands. That wasn't a concern. There was just a giving, a wanting, a love, a harmony. All they need is harmony. All they need.
So that's weird. I'm trying to talk and I'm getting all these weird sounds. So within the development centre, what are you actually wanting to happen, or what were you thinking about? Because I know that when you and I were talking, you were thinking about having a group, online group. What was your idea for that? And then once you've answered that and give us a bit of an idea of what's in your head, we might ask people if they have any questions to ask. How's that sound?
Yes.
Okay.
What I would like to do is I want to bring forward experiences people had experience they didn't understand, experience they can't make sense of, all the learning they got from the experience, because each experience has some learning. Then, you know, talk about ectoplasm, protoplasm, cryptoplasm. I know people make a lot of jokes when I say it, but there's a lot behind it, and I have experience, personally have experience. You know, kinetic energy, can the medium manipulate it? Can we? People say to me, communicators say to me, if you have the right people and you have the right intention and the desire to create an accord in your midst, it will be created. You don't need spirit people. Or when you, how easy it is to take the power away from the spirit team. An example was, we knock when we come, yeah? Yep. And so everybody goes, yeah, knocking, wow, more. You have then, with the power of all the people wanting the knocking, you have created that knocking and taking the power away from us. I never knew that.
Yeah.
But there's so many things. So I would like to bring communicators in to talk about what they're doing, how they do it, why they want to do it, how we can help. Mediums in, like the physical mediums we have. Some are willing. I don't know what happened with the others. But how does it feel? How are you aware? Are you aware? What do they tell you? What does your spirit team say? Have you contact with your spirit team? You know, all these things, there is 1,000 things we don't know, because really we think we're experts, but we are not. We're living in a physical world. Yep. We can't know about the spirit world, but we can learn about it. As the aim is to thin the veil. Look what Sonia does. It's amazing stuff. Yep. You know, there's experimentation. There will be the normal, traditional, how it always has been, mediumship. But there is a mixing. There is a mixing between mental mediumship, trance mediumship, physical. It will all come in packages. There will be mediums who do that. There will be mediums who create their own phenomena via cryptoplasm. No spirit team. There will be ETs who create phenomena. But how do we know who does what? How do we know what we can do? It wasn't seance condition. It was just like, you know, like you sit maybe for a trance medium. Once was it dark.
Wow.
It always was light. Yeah, I found it amazing. But then, you know, communicators tell us, and I said it last week, it's, you know, they, like we are here, say, yeah, and they work with us, but they are just mouthpieces, many of them, for a group. Say, the experimental group, Jimmy is the mouthpiece for the scientists, yeah? But they fall under another group of knowledge, say, you know, sounds maybe better than layers of intelligence, you know, another group who know more about this. And then there is a group, you know, who knows more about it, say it this way. So I believe that we all just working to learn. We had an incident where the light went on from a recorder, and there was a person next to me, like 1.50 m tall maybe, next to me, grabbing for that recorder, and the light went on the recorder. And so we both staring at each other like, what happened? Like, you know, and it was with a whoosh. It went back to the cabinet. But then the communicator said, don't worry, this was nothing to do with you. That was learning for us to be more diligent. So relearning, we don't know everything what's going to happen, because there are others who have more control, who have more knowledge, who have more experience, yeah? So we are just the middleman, and they are the middleman for maybe higher powers. You know, it's just hand-me-downs, really, you know. You see, and I'm not clairvoyant, so, you know, for me, they have to be pretty solid that I can see them. Yeah. And when I saw him sitting on the medium,
Right.
I could see him as a person. The one who was floating, I could not see through, but nearly see through. And the face was very clear and very sharp. I have seen also the medium, a cord, and a person walking through the room. Yeah. So for me, it was like, oh my God, guys, can you get it? This is what you like when you're dead. Here they are. You know, you just don't have that cord. And they're all going, what? I go, oh my God. So you would have great stories to share. Great stories.
Yeah.
I would love it.
And you next time come, we sit and chat more personally. Yeah.
You are talking about like our intention and the intention of the spirit world. And I have noticed that, of course, you as a medium can influence what's going to happen because you have to have matching intentions. And if you wish something to happen, of course, if you have a strong energy, it's going to happen. But not always what you wish to happen is going to happen, because it's also about what is needed to happen. So, for example, if I wish something to, you know, come forward in a way, they might change the way it comes forward. I always feel like we can influence, but we cannot decide for them.
No, you can't decide for someone else what they're doing now.
Indeed. So you always, when you sit, you have like, as sitters and as medium, you have the energy, but that's also the energy the spirit world works with. So if you all indeed have like, okay, we want an airport, then the spirit world is going to try to give you an airport. And you might indeed, if you're really strong sitters and you have a really strong medium, be able to, you know, carry it most of the way. But still, the spirit world has to decide if they are going to use the energy or not.
No, that is true. But I was more saying that they told us that if the right intention is set and there would be a group of us with the same intention and the absolute desire to have an apport, we do not need the spirit world to create that apport. We, with our power, can create that apport out of the kinetic energy around it.
Probably, yes. Depends on how strong the energy is. But yeah, it's possible. But I don't know how much energy you need, because pretty much a lot of energy you need. So you need a real strong intention if you want to make that happen.
But I want to try it.
Good luck.
Thank you. But on that, my experience, why I believe it, yes, my experience was that I was in a seance and they were sitting for me, and I heard somebody say outside the cabinet that everyone has had apports, and they never had an apport, and other people get things from their loved ones. And that person said, and it seems that, you know, I just always miss out. And in that, when I was hearing it, it was like, to me, it felt like an out-of-body experience. I felt myself, most of my consciousness, at the front of the cabinet, inside, but at the front, while I knew that my physical form was sitting in the chair. And I'm maybe not very good at explaining it, but it was very clear to me that I could feel the front of the cabinet, yes? And while I was there, I had an absolute desire. I really truly wanted that person to have an approach. I could feel my heart open, and it all sounds a little bit like wishy-washy, but it wasn't. It was such a strong experience, and all I wanted in that whole world at that moment was that woman to have an approach, and an approach fell. And it was something what meant a lot to her. Now, later on, when I was thinking about it, I'm thinking, I can still feel it, but I must have made it up. That couldn't have happened. And when I talked to communicators later about that, and they said, you have things to learn about your power, not my power, our power as humanity, and what you can create. And that was an experience for you to understand that. So in the future, I think we will hear more and learn more about that.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I've spoken to Inga about her group and the things that are possible perhaps in the group, and I think it's a really exciting opportunity to bring people together. I think in terms of structure, because this is the first one, if we can perhaps start thinking about and discussing the aims of the group. You've talked about share the experiences of mediums and what's been happening, whether it be in seance rooms or privately for people who are opening to the spirit world. And I think that's great. I mean, look at this, we've almost taken up an hour just doing that. So I think that there's going to be great opportunity for discussions. The other thing that I'd really like to see in this type of a group, which is actually advice for developing mediums from people, that are gathered here. There's so much wisdom in the room that I think that for us, we talked about, and you Inga talk about bringing the world together on this platform, bringing people from all over the world to be able to say, well, this is my experience, this is how it has helped my development. And even things like, how can we encourage sitters? Where do we find our sitters? Where do we find people that can support us? Because in my own journey, as many of you know here, if it wasn't for AREI, I wouldn't have met all these wonderful people that have opened up the whole world. And I've studied spiritual matters, forever. So I think it's wonderful. The other thing that I would really potentially be a platform, and this is just open for discussion, is encouraging, how can we encourage the general public to become aware of all these amazing things that happen? I mean, myself, I try and talk to my friends or, people at work, and they, I can see this kind of glaze go over their eye and they go, oh yeah, it's really hard to believe for people in the world, to, many people, the general public. So how can we just open that flower of opportunity to bring the knowledge of what spirit is bringing to all the wonderful mediums in the world? Can I make a suggestion?
Go, Deb.
Perhaps if we can meet once a fortnight, just to help get the structure and the ideas about how we can bring this together. And then as we develop, if people want it once a month, from there, then that's absolutely fine. But I think that we need some momentum in the beginning stages to get that structure right, so that we can encourage people to engage in it.
That sounds good.
Thoughts,
Scott wanted to say something. You have to, that's it.
It's just trying to unmute myself, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to say this or not. Obviously, my area is learning from the past and sitting in the right conditions to provide the power for our friends from a world we call unseen. And obviously John Austin, who was a very influential gentleman in my unfoldment, along with Collins and along with Leslie Flint's. It's important when we are building structure to listen to the spirit world and ask them for guidance first, because obviously this is a partnership between the two worlds. If we are going to meet and share ideas, we need to involve the spirit world as well. and saying to them, this is your platform as well. What would you like to say through us to the group? And I think as we were talking about structure, meeting at the same time, same place, same people, and dedicating harmony to the spirit team. Obviously, I'm a sucker for the history of physical mediumship, and I think it would be quite helpful if we start to look at certain mediums of the past and saying how they unfolded their gifts, and to see some kind of similarities within it. I'm a mum and dad medium, so my mediumship, I like to have evidence of survival beyond the physical and mortal death. So like if we were looking at Florence Cook with Katie King, when Katie King materialized and said, what would you like us to do? As Inga quite rightly said about the sitters can influence, like Eusebia Palladino said, restrain me or I'll fake it, not intentionally, but as the power passes through my mind. But Florence Cook said to the group, what would you like me to do? And the group said that we would like an apport, please. And Florence Cook said, Katie King said, what apport would you like? And someone quite cheekily said, the medium, Mrs. Glover. And Mrs. Glover was an alternatus medium who was then sitting at her writing desk, went dizzy, then was asported and then apported into the room. And they had to then apport a coat and winter boots because they didn't have enough power to take her home. So she then has to walk the 3 miles back to her premises because the spirit world didn't have enough power. And then on that note is that if we are looking at physical phenomena, as I said, creating the right environment for our friends. But as I said to you, I'm a sucker, the old ways that we sit and listen to the spirit team and those who have brought us together and ask the reasons why. I know with the spirit people, there are no answers, there are only questions that lead to greater questions. But as a structure, as our first group, I would probably recommend that we look at our history, but then say, right, okay, at this time, wherever you are in this world, we sit quietly for a few minutes and reach for the spirit world and create a collective power. And then whatever they want to do with that power is then up to the spirit world. I don't know if that's what is everyone's flavor, but I think it's probably wise if we are going to start like an online group, start it like a home circle and say, right, okay, we sit, maybe move with the thought of the prayer. I'm not talking about prayer or protection or anything like that, but moving into the soul's power and saying to the other world, well, here we are, this is me, let us meet on the shores of eternity.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
No problem.
Just to let people know the times that we meet, we would be meeting at this time because that is the time where we can get people from the UK, Europe and Australia together. So America has had its opportunity to do things that sit in their time frame. So this is our time frame that we can do things in. So this would be the time slot that we'd be looking at. And going by what seems to have come through from everyone is that you would like to meet fortnightly. Am I correct with that, Wendy?
It seems to be, yes. That's the general feeling, at least to start
Okay.
with. Now, I'm aware of the fact that Inga will be travelling and sometimes won't be available to chair the meeting.
Yeah.
I have internet.
You still have internet wherever you go. What about in South America, in Brazil?
Yeah, Medvado has internet.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
No worries.
And I guess I can always back her up if she's not there.
Yeah, you see, I believe that, as Scott said, it really needs to be with spirit communicators. So maybe there is an opportunity with some of the physical mediums to maybe allow their communicators to come through and talk about any education they can give us, like, materialization, you know, yeah, a pulse is, you know, I don't know how much there is about that, but, you know, having subjects and then learn about it and learn about how we can be better mediums and how we can actually work with them and stop demanding how they work, stop demanding what they can give us, because really we are just an instrument. We are not really that important. I find, you know, many have taken over to say how it needs to be, and we shouldn't, you know, really, we're not doing the job. We are just there. So, like Scott said, you know, what is expected from citizens? Yeah, that's awesome. You know, what can we learn? How do you do all this? What do you need? How what are the steps to materialization? For instance, this experimentation, or you know, Scott says you are mom and dad medium. You know, where are you going with that? You know, can you work with technology? Can they maybe be seen in really low light for their loved ones, or whatever your aim is? But just, you know, asking and learning, and how are they doing it, and what do they need, and you know what I mean? It's just,
we completely agree.
So important. Really, really is.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's saying no. And at this stage, I think that it's all we need left to do is to work out, you know, from time to time how we or what we're going to talk about. I'm just looking at a calendar here. I'm also very conscious of the time. It's nearly 10 p.m. here, and both Wendy and I have to get up really early in the morning for the global meeting. So I've got the calendar, and going by what Wendy says, the numbers were you wanted to meet fortnightly. So can I propose that we hold the meeting here, same time, same place, on the 9th. Oops, no, that's not January. Sorry, I thought I was so smart and had that all worked out. On the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 13th, Sunday the 13th. How's that for everyone? Can you give us a show of thumbs up or down? Wendy, you got that?
Yeah, I think everybody's fine for that.
Okay.